I'm about to share something that might get me in trouble with traditional religious teachers. God doesn't care if you're rich. Not in the way you think. The infinite intelligence that runs your heartbeat, that grows your hair while you sleep, that heals cuts without you consciously trying, this intelligence is utterly indifferent to your moral performances around money. It gives to the faithful and the faithless alike because it operates on law, not judgment. Which means the only person who's been blocking your wealth is the person who decided you weren't worthy of it. And I suspect you know exactly who that person is. Now, before you close this video, thinking I've gone off the deep end, let me explain something to you. You've been lied to about prayer, not by malicious people, but by well-meaning ones who never understood how the subconscious mind actually operates. They taught you to beg, to plead, to leave it in God's hands as if the divine intelligence was some distant judge weighing your worthiness on cosmic scales, deciding whether you deserved that raise, or that financial breakthrough, or that freedom from debt. And here's what's happened as a result. You've tried affirmations. You've made vision boards. You've thought positively until your face hurt from forcing smiles. You've worked hard, sacrificed, done everything right. And money still feels like something that happens to other people. You're exhausted from trying to manifest while simultaneously believing, deep down in a place you don't like to admit exists, that wanting wealth makes you shallow or spiritually suspect or somehow less evolved than those who claim not to care about material things. I'm going to tell you something that will either liberate you completely or make you angry enough to click away, and either response will tell you something important about yourself. True prayer isn't asking for what you don't have. It's accepting what already exists in the infinite warehouse of consciousness. Your subconscious mind is not a wishful thinking machine. It's a faithful servant that must externalize whatever you genuinely accept as true. The secret isn't that you create reality with your thoughts. It's that you've already been creating your reality with your thoughts. You've just been creating the wrong one. Every other teacher tells you to align your vibration or release resistance, but leaves you wondering what that actually means. At 3 in the morning when the bills are due, and the bank account is empty and the fear is so thick you can taste it, I'm going to show you the precise mental act, the specific prayer, that reprograms the only thing standing between you and wealth, your self-concept. This isn't about the universe. It's about the psychological law that governs your nervous system, your behavior, and your perception. And we need to destroy a myth right now, immediately, before we go any further. The myth that spiritual people must be poor. That money corrupts. That desiring abundance is egotistical or unspiritual, or proves you haven't transcended the material world. Let me be clear. Poverty doesn't make you holy. It just makes you poor. The infinite intelligence wants to express through you in every form, including financial freedom. When you're broke and stressed, and unable to help yourself or others, you're not closer to God. You're just suffering unnecessarily. Think about it for a moment. Really think about it. What good have you done in the world from a place of financial desperation? How many people have you helped when you couldn't help yourself? How much have you given when you were terrified there wouldn't be enough for you? Poverty consciousness doesn't make you generous. It makes you afraid. And fear is the worst possible state from which to live your life, or serve others, or express the divine intelligence that created you. I've spent decades studying the mind, the subconscious, the laws that govern human experience. And I can tell you with absolute certainty, there is no spiritual virtue in struggle. There is no heavenly reward waiting for those who suffered the most financially. That's not how the law works. That's not how consciousness works. That's not how the infinite intelligence operates. The universe, God, infinite intelligence, whatever term resonates with you, this creative power is completely impartial. It's like the law of gravity. Gravity doesn't care if you're good or bad, spiritual or secular, deserving or undeserving. It operates on principle. Step off a cliff and you fall. Stand on solid ground and you're supported. There's no judgment in it. There's no personal evaluation of your worthiness. There's only law. The same is true for the law of mind. Impress poverty upon your subconscious and you'll experience poverty. Impress wealth upon your subconscious and you'll experience wealth. The law doesn't care about your backstory, your childhood, your trauma, your mistakes. It simply responds to your dominant mental conditioning. And right now, if you're struggling financially, I can tell you exactly what's been conditioned into your subconscious mind. The belief that money is hard to get, that you're not good with finances, that wealth is for other people, that you're destined to struggle. Now let me tell you a story that will help you understand what I mean. Imagine, if you will, a civilization that existed long ago. History has forgotten them, but their wisdom remains encoded in myths and fragments. These people discovered something extraordinary. Every physical structure in their world, every building, every bridge, every creation, first appeared in what they called the realm of sleep thought. Before a temple stood in stone, it stood complete and perfect in the vivid nocturnal imagination of the architect. He would lie down at night and enter that sacred state between waking and sleeping, and in his mind's eye he would walk through the completed temple. He would see the columns, feel the coolness of the marble, hear his footsteps echoing in the vast chambers, smell the incense burning at the altar. He would experience it so completely, so vividly, with such sensory detail and emotional reality, that his subconscious mind accepted it as already built. And then a miraculous thing would happen. In his waking hours, solutions would come to him. The right stone would be discovered. The right craftsman would appear. Obstacles that seemed insurmountable would dissolve. It was as if the universe itself was conspiring to externalize what he had already accepted in consciousness. Because, in truth, that's exactly what was happening. Before a garden bloomed, someone had dreamed it into form, seeing the flowers in full color, smelling the earth after rain, feeling the sun on their face as they walked paths that didn't yet exist in the physical world. Before a piece of music was performed, the composer heard it complete in the silence of inner imagination. Before a garment was woven, it existed in the mind of the weaver, texture and color and form already decided. But here's what made this civilization truly remarkable. They understood that wealth operated the same way. A merchant wouldn't simply work hard and hope for prosperity. No, that was the amateur's approach, the unconscious approach, the approach of someone who didn't understand the law. Before sleep each night, this merchant would enter that threshold state, that golden gate between the conscious and subconscious mind, and he would accept his prosperity as already complete. He would see his warehouses full of goods. He would feel the weight of gold coins in his hands. He would hear the gratitude of customers who valued his products. He would taste the wine of celebration with his family. He would experience the relief and joy and freedom of abundant wealth, not as fantasy, not as wishful thinking, but as accepted reality in consciousness. And because his subconscious mind couldn't distinguish between this vivid acceptance and physical reality, it began to restructure his perceptions, his behaviors, his very opportunities to match what he had accepted in mind. He would wake up with ideas he didn't have before. He would notice opportunities he would have previously overlooked. He would make decisions from confidence instead of fear. He would carry himself differently, speak differently, negotiate differently, and people would respond to that difference. They would trust him more, pay him more, recommend him more, not because he was manipulating them, but because he was operating from a completely different state of consciousness. When invaders came to destroy their wealth, to burn their buildings and steal their gold, something strange happened that the invaders couldn't comprehend. Within months, sometimes weeks, the wealth reappeared. New opportunities emerged from nowhere. Resources flowed from unexpected directions. Buildings were reconstructed. Trade routes reopened. Prosperity returned like water flowing downhill, following the path of least resistance back to its source. The invaders were baffled. They didn't understand that you cannot destroy what exists first in consciousness. The buildings were just shadows. The gold was just symbols. The true substance was the mental acceptance, the consciousness of abundance that these people practiced every single night before sleep. They could burn the physical manifestations, but they couldn't touch the source. They couldn't destroy the mental equivalent. They couldn't erase the subconscious conditioning that created wealth in the first place. But, and this is crucial, when someone in that civilization went to sleep believing they were cursed, that tomorrow would bring only lack, that they were destined for poverty because of their lineage or their mistakes or the gods' disfavor, their world reflected that too. Their outer circumstances became a perfect mirror of their inner conviction. No amount of hard work could overcome that inner conviction. No amount of opportunity could penetrate that wall of negative expectation. They would sabotage every blessing, overlook every chance, make every wrong decision, until their outer life perfectly matched their inner belief. The civilization eventually fell, as all civilizations do, but the wisdom remained. It's encoded in every spiritual tradition, every mystical teaching, every deep exploration of consciousness. The kingdom of heaven is within you. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Ask and you shall receive. Seek and you shall find. These aren't pretty platitudes. They're descriptions of psychological law. They're instructions for how to use your mind correctly. Which brings me to something uncomfortable we need to talk about. You have been praying all wrong. And I can prove it to you right now. Think about the last time you prayed for money. Maybe it was last night. Maybe it's what brought you to this video. Close your eyes for a moment and remember. What did you feel as you prayed? Be honest with yourself. Did you feel wealthy or desperate? Did you feel abundant or lacking? Did you pray from a consciousness of already having, or from a consciousness of not having and needing and hoping and begging? Did you say, please God, I really need this money. I don't know how I'm going to pay this bill. Please help me, I'm desperate. Did you feel the anxiety in your chest, the tension in your shoulders, the fear of not enough? Did you plead and bargain and promise to be better if only this one prayer would be answered? If you did, you weren't praying. You were reinforcing poverty consciousness with every word. A woman came to see me once. I'll never forget her because she represents so many people I've counseled over the years. She was religious, deeply faithful, prayed every single night for financial help. She tithed despite having very little. She volunteered at her church. She did everything her pastor told her to do. She was, by all traditional measures, a good and faithful servant. And nothing changed. Month after month, year after year, the same financial struggle, the same anxiety about bills, the same sense of being just one emergency away from disaster, the same feeling of being forgotten by the God she served so devotedly. She came to me confused and hurt. Why isn't God answering my prayers? I've done everything right. I've been faithful. I've given when I had nothing to give. What more does God want from me? There were tears in her eyes. Real pain, real confusion, and underneath it all, a quiet anger she was afraid to acknowledge. An anger at God for abandoning her. An anger at herself for not being worthy enough. I asked her one question. When you pray for money, what do you feel in your body? She looked at me like I'd asked something inappropriate. I don't understand what you mean, she said. So I asked it differently. When you pray at night, asking God for financial help, do you feel peaceful and abundant? Or do you feel desperate and afraid? She went completely silent. I watched the realization move across her face like a shadow. Then tears came, real tears, the kind that come from finally seeing something you've been avoiding. She said, I feel like I'm begging, like I'm bothering God with my problems. Like I'm proving I don't have enough faith because if I had enough faith I wouldn't need to ask. Like I'm this pathetic, broken thing on my knees pleading for scraps. There it was. The entire problem in one confession. Her prayer wasn't a prayer at all. It was a nightly reinforcement of poverty consciousness. It was a daily practice of impressing lack and need and desperation upon her subconscious mind. Every time she asked God to give her money she didn't have, every time she prayed from that place of fear and need, she was literally programming her subconscious with the conviction that she was poor, lacking, separate from supply, unworthy of abundance. And her faithful subconscious mind, operating on law, not judgment, said, yes, you are poor and lacking, and I will create circumstances to match that deep conviction. It wasn't God punishing her. It wasn't the universe withholding from her. It was her own mind, faithfully externalizing her dominant mental state. The poverty she experienced in the physical world was a perfect reflection of the poverty she was practicing in consciousness every single night. I gave her a new practice. And let me be clear, this wasn't easy for her at first. It felt wrong. It felt presumptuous. It felt like she was lying or being arrogant or disrespecting God. That's how deeply the old programming ran. But she was desperate enough to try. Before sleep, instead of asking, instead of begging, instead of pleading from that familiar place of lack, she would thank God for the wealth that was already hers in mind. She would lie in bed, enter that drowsy state, and she would feel, really feel, the relief of paid bills, the joy of abundance, the freedom of having more than enough. She would see her bank account with more than she needed. She would imagine buying groceries without anxiety, paying rent without fear, giving to others from overflow instead of scarcity. She wouldn't ask. She would accept. She wouldn't beg. She would thank. Not out loud where her doubting mind could interfere, but in the silence of her heart, in that sacred threshold state right before sleep when the conscious mind finally stops arguing about what's realistic. The first night, she cried. It felt so unfamiliar, so uncomfortable, so different from everything she'd been taught about prayer. The second night, doubt came screaming back. This is ridiculous, her mind said. You're lying to yourself. Your bank account is still empty. The bills are still due. This is just positive thinking nonsense. But she persisted. Night after night, she practiced accepting instead of asking, thanking instead of begging, feeling abundance instead of reinforcing lack. Within 3 weeks, something unexpected happened. She received a check in the mail from an insurance claim she'd filed and forgotten about 2 years earlier. It wasn't a fortune, but it was exactly the amount she needed to catch up on overdue bills. Her rational mind wanted to dismiss it as coincidence. But she kept practicing. Within 2 months, a former colleague called her completely out of the blue. They'd just gotten promoted and needed to fill their old position. The salary was almost double what she'd been making. She hadn't been looking for a new job. She hadn't sent out resumes. The opportunity simply appeared, as if drawn by some invisible force to match her new consciousness of abundance. Within 6 months, her entire financial life had transformed. Not just the numbers in her bank account, though those changed dramatically, but her relationship with money, her anxiety around finances, her sense of deserving, her ability to make decisions from abundance instead of fear. Everything shifted. And she told me later that the most remarkable part was how natural it felt once it started flowing, like she'd been swimming upstream her entire life, and finally turned around to go with the current. Not through magic. Through law. Her consciousness shifted. So her perception of opportunity shifted. So her behavior shifted. So her results shifted. The external world didn't change first. Her internal world changed first. And the external world had no choice but to follow, because the outer is always a reflection of the inner, always, without exception. That is the law. Now, you might be thinking, isn't this just self-deception? Isn't she lying to herself? Isn't this just pretending to have money when you don't? Which is delusional and dangerous? That question reveals the entire misunderstanding about how reality works. So let me take some time to explain something that will change everything, if you really hear it. If you let it penetrate past your intellectual defenses and your cynicism and your learned helplessness. Your subconscious mind is impersonal law. Read that again. Your subconscious mind is impersonal law. It doesn't judge your desires as good or bad, worthy or unworthy, spiritual or material, realistic or unrealistic. It simply accepts whatever you impress upon it with feeling and conviction. It's like soil. Soil doesn't care if you plant roses or poison ivy. It will grow whatever seed you give it with the same neutral faithfulness. Most people, and I mean the vast majority, are impressing poverty, lack, struggle, just getting by. They think about bills more than blessings. They worry about not having enough more than they appreciate what they do have. They replay past financial failures more than they imagine future financial success. They say things like money doesn't grow on trees, or we can't afford that, or I'm just not good with money, or rich people are greedy, or you have to work hard for every penny. And then they wonder why that's what shows up in their bank accounts, their opportunities, their lived experience. They wonder why money feels hard to get, why it slips through their fingers, why they seem to take one step forward and two steps back. They think it's the economy, or their education, or their bad luck, or their circumstances, or other people's advantages. They don't realize they're looking at the harvest of seeds they planted themselves. The law is completely neutral, completely impersonal. It doesn't care about your story, your trauma, your disadvantages, your excuses. It simply responds to your dominant mental conditioning. Your self-concept is the sculptor. Your habitual thinking is the chisel. And the life you're living right now is the statue that's been carved over years and years of unconscious mental practice. Here's the paradox that confuses people. You must want money without needing it energetically. Let me say that again, because it's subtle but crucial. You must want money without needing it energetically, because need implies lack, and lack is what gets impressed upon the subconscious. When you pray from need, from desperation, from fear of not having enough, you are literally programming your subconscious mind with the vibration of poverty. The words don't matter. You can say all the right affirmations, speak all the right prayers, but if the feeling underneath is desperation, that's what's being impressed. The feeling is the prayer. The emotional state is what impresses the deeper mind. Your subconscious doesn't hear your words. It feels your vibration. It reads your emotional frequency. And it says, oh, this is what we're accepting as true. This is what we're believing about ourselves. And it goes to work creating circumstances to match that belief. So, if the subconscious is this neutral, faithful servant, why do most people stay broke? Why does financial struggle seem to follow certain people like a shadow, while others seem to attract money effortlessly? Why do some people work incredibly hard and barely get by, while others work less and prosper abundantly? Why does the same opportunity make one person rich and leave another person exactly where they were? The answer is both simple and profound. Your dominant self-concept is your financial blueprint. Right now, underneath all your conscious thoughts, and hopes and plans and strategies, you have a secret image of yourself. It's operating mostly below the level of conscious awareness, but it's there, running the show, making the decisions, filtering your perceptions, directing your behavior. It might sound like, I'm someone who struggles with money, or, I'm not good with finances, that's just not my strength, or, my family has always been poor, this is just who we are, this is our lot in life, or, I'm smart and talented but money just doesn't come easily to me for some reason, or, rich people are greedy and I'm not greedy, so I must not be meant to be rich, or, wanting money is shallow, and I'm a deep, spiritual person, or, I'll never get ahead, the system is rigged, it's not fair. These aren't just thoughts. They're identity. They're the blueprint your subconscious uses to construct your reality. And here's what happens, here's the mechanism that keeps people trapped in financial struggle even when they consciously want to be wealthy. Every external result that contradicts this blueprint creates cognitive dissonance. Your mind experiences it as danger, as threat, as something wrong that needs to be corrected. If you see yourself as someone who struggles with money, and suddenly $10,000 appears, your subconscious mind experiences alarm. This doesn't match who we are. This doesn't fit the pattern. This contradicts our identity. And unconsciously, automatically, without you even realizing it's happening, it will sabotage that windfall. It will create an emergency, a sudden expense, a bad decision, a missed opportunity, something, anything, to return you to the familiar state of struggle, not because the universe is punishing you, not because you're cursed, not because God doesn't want you to have money, but because the mind seeks consistency. It seeks to prove itself right. It's actually trying to protect you from the discomfort of cognitive dissonance, the psychological stress of being someone different than who you believe yourself to be. Your mind would rather be consistently poor than inconsistently rich, because consistency feels like safety even when it's consistently painful. This is why lottery winners go broke. Study after study has shown this. People win millions of dollars, and within a few years, sometimes months, they're back where they started or worse. Everyone thinks it's because they spent foolishly, or were taken advantage of, and yes, those things happen. But why do those things happen? Because their self-concept didn't match their bank account. Underneath the money, they still saw themselves as poor. They still had the consciousness of lack. They still had the identity of someone who struggles financially. So, their subconscious mind, being faithful to that identity, created circumstances to return them to the familiar pattern. They spent recklessly because someone who doesn't believe they deserve wealth unconsciously gets rid of it. They trusted the wrong people because someone with poverty consciousness doesn't know how to protect abundance. They made terrible decisions because their mental blueprint didn't include being wealthy. The same thing happens with inheritances. People receive large sums from deceased relatives and lose it all within a few years. It happens with bonuses and settlements and unexpected income. If it doesn't match your self-concept, it will disappear. I've seen this over and over again in my work. The outer circumstance changes, but the inner consciousness remains the same, and eventually the outer must come back into alignment with the inner. And on the flip side, I've seen people lose everything, go completely broke, and within a short period of time they're prosperous again. Because their self-concept is abundance. Their identity is wealth. Their consciousness is prosperity. They may have lost money, but they didn't lose the mental equivalent of money. They didn't lose the consciousness that creates money. So, it flows back to them like water, finding its level. You've probably experienced this yourself. Maybe you've made and lost the same amount of money multiple times in your life. Maybe you get to a certain level, and then something always happens to bring you back down. Maybe you have a pattern of 1 step forward, 2 steps back. That's not bad luck. That's not the economy. That's not other people. That's your financial blueprint asserting itself. The pattern isn't in the external world, it's in your consciousness. And until you redraw that blueprint, until you change that self-concept, until you reprogram that subconscious conditioning, you will keep creating the same financial reality no matter how hard you work, how many opportunities appear, how much you try to force different results. Now, here's where it gets beautiful and strange. You don't change this blueprint by fighting it. You don't change it by hating yourself for having it. You don't change it by forcing yourself to think positive thoughts you don't believe. You don't change it through willpower, or discipline, or trying really hard to be different. Because all of those approaches involve effort, and effort reinforces the belief that change is hard, which reinforces the pattern you're trying to escape. You change it by impressing a new pattern onto your subconscious mind. And there's one time, one sacred window, when this is easier and more effective than any other time, one moment when the gate is open, when the defenses are down, when suggestions can bypass the conscious critic and go straight into the creative medium of mind. The last thought before sleep is the first seed of tomorrow. Science has proven this. I'm not speaking metaphorically or spiritually. I'm speaking literally and scientifically. In that drowsy state right before you fall asleep, your brain enters what's called theta wave frequency. This is measured. This is documented. This is the same state hypnotists use. The same state where therapeutic suggestions bypass your conscious resistance and go straight into the subconscious. Your inner critic, the part of you that says that's unrealistic, or that's impossible, or who do you think you are, or you've tried that before, and it didn't work, that voice goes offline. The gate is open. The guard steps away. The bouncer leaves the door. Whatever metaphor works for you, the point is the same. In this state, your subconscious mind is highly suggestible, deeply receptive, powerfully impressionable. Ancient wisdom knew this long before modern neuroscience confirmed it. Dream incubation was practiced in temples across Egypt, Greece, Rome, India, China. It wasn't superstition. It wasn't primitive ignorance. It was applied psychology. It was the deliberate use of a natural law. People would go to sleep with a question, or a desire, or a problem, impressing it upon their mind in that liminal state between waking and sleeping, and they would wake with answers, with healing, with solutions that seem to come from beyond their conscious thinking. Because during sleep, when the conscious mind is offline, the subconscious mind can work without interference. It can make connections you couldn't make consciously. It can access information beyond your normal awareness. It can reorganize your perceptions and restructure your beliefs, and create new neural pathways that support the pattern you impress before sleeping. What you accept as true in this moment impresses deeply. It sinks past the surface chatter, past the defenses, past the skepticism and cynicism, and learned helplessness, straight into the creative medium of your subconscious. And your subconscious, being faithful and literal and utterly committed to externalizing your inner convictions, begins to work on your behalf all through the night. It doesn't rest when you sleep. It doesn't stop. It doesn't take a break. It simply starts restructuring your nervous system, your perceptions, your behaviors, your very sense of reality to match the pattern you've given it. This isn't mystical. This is how the mind works. This is how learning happens. This is how change occurs. New information impressed upon the subconscious during the theta state, before sleep, integrates faster and more completely than information received during normal waking consciousness. Athletes use this. They mentally rehearse their performance before sleep and improve nearly as much as those who physically practice. Students use this. They review material before sleep and retain it better than those who study at other times. Therapists use this. They give clients suggestions before sleep and see faster resolution of issues than with daytime therapy alone. And you can use this for wealth. You can use this to reprogram your financial blueprint. You can use this to change your self-concept from poverty to prosperity, not over years of therapy or decades of hard work, but over weeks and months of consistent practice, with this one simple technique: the nightly prayer of acceptance. So what does this actually look like? What's the prayer that changes everything? This is where most teaching falls apart. You're told what to believe but not how to actually do it. You're given principles but not practices. You're inspired but not instructed. Let me be specific. Let me give you the exact method. Most prayers around money, most requests to God, or the universe, or higher power, sound like this: please God, give me money, help me pay my bills, send me abundance. I really need this breakthrough. I don't know how I'm going to make it. Please help me. Notice the energy. Feel the vibration. It's petition. It's begging. It's asking from a place of lack. It implies separation. You here, God there, money somewhere else, and you're hoping to convince the divine intelligence to move it from there to here. This reinforces poverty consciousness with every word. Every time you pray like this, you're telling your subconscious mind, I don't have, I need, I lack, I'm separate from supply, I'm at the mercy of external forces, I'm powerless. And your subconscious, being obedient, says yes, that's who we are, that's our reality. And it creates circumstances to match. True prayer is acceptance. It's a completely different vibration, a completely different energy, a completely different message to your subconscious mind. It sounds like this: thank you for the wealth that flows to me, through me, as me. Thank you for the abundance that is mine now. I accept the prosperity that comes in expected and unexpected ways. I am a channel for infinite supply. My good comes to me easily and joyfully. I am financially free. I am abundant. I am prosperous. It is done. Notice the difference. Feel the difference. This isn't semantic wordplay. This isn't just positive words covering up negative feelings. This is a fundamentally different relationship with wealth, with God, with yourself. One prayer reinforces I don't have. The other reinforces I do have. I am receiving. It is done. It already exists in consciousness and is making its way into form. You receive what you give thanks for, even before you see it physically. This is the paradox that stops most people. They say, how can I be grateful for money I don't have? How can I thank God for wealth I can't see in my bank account? Isn't that lying? Isn't that delusional? Isn't that denying reality? And the answer is, because the bank account is the effect, not the cause. The physical money is the shadow, not the substance. The cause is consciousness. The substance is your mental acceptance. When you give thanks for wealth in consciousness, when you accept it as already yours in mind, you are impressing that pattern onto the only creative medium there is, your subconscious mind. Your subconscious doesn't know the difference between a vividly imagined event and a physically experienced event. This has been proven in laboratory after laboratory. When you imagine eating a lemon, your mouth waters just as it would if you actually bit into a lemon. When you imagine running, the same neural pathways fire as when you physically run. Your nervous system responds to imagination as if it were reality. So when you accept wealth in imagination, when you feel the relief of abundance, when you see yourself as financially free, your subconscious mind experiences that as reality. And being faithful, being obedient to your dominant impressions, it begins to create external circumstances to match internal acceptance. But doesn't this contradict humility? Isn't this ego run wild? Isn't this blasphemous, this idea that you can just decide you're wealthy and God has to give it to you? Actually, it's the opposite. Let me explain something about true wealth consciousness versus ego. True wealth consciousness is service consciousness. The infinite intelligence doesn't flow to you like you're the end point, like you're the final destination, like you're supposed to hoard and accumulate and possess. It flows through you. You're a channel, not a container. You're a river, not a reservoir. Money is energy. It must circulate, it must flow, it must move. When it stops moving, it stagnates. When it's hoarded, it dies. When you see yourself as a channel for abundance, receiving and giving, accepting and sharing, the flow increases. Because the law responds to your consciousness. If your consciousness is I receive so I can give, I'm blessed so I can bless, I'm abundant so I can share abundance, the flow continues and expands. But if your consciousness is I need to get and keep and protect, because there's not enough, the flow stops. Fear constricts. Greed blocks. Poverty thinking is actually selfish. It says, there's not enough. I must hoard. I can't help others because I'm barely surviving. I can't give because I might need it later. I can't be generous because what if it doesn't come back? That's poverty consciousness, and it's completely self-centered. It's all about protecting the little you think you have from the scarcity you believe is real. Wealth thinking, true prosperity consciousness, is generous. It says there's infinite supply. I can receive freely and give freely. I am a conduit, not a container. The more I give, the more flows through me. I am a channel for the infinite abundance of God expressing in the material world. That's not ego. That's not greed. That's alignment with the generous, abundant nature of the infinite intelligence itself. The more you claim your wealth in consciousness, the more you have to share in the physical world. Lack consciousness helps no one. It doesn't make you humble. It makes you afraid. And fear is the opposite of faith, the opposite of love, the opposite of the consciousness that attracts good into your life and allows you to be good in the lives of others. Think about the people who've helped you most in your life. Were they desperate and broke? Were they struggling and fearful? Were they barely surviving? Or were they people who had enough for themselves and overflow for others? People operating from abundance can afford to be generous, patient, kind, supportive. People operating from lack are often resentful, anxious, selfish, not by choice, but by perceived necessity. So claiming your wealth isn't selfish. It's responsible. It's spiritual. It's aligning yourself with the abundant nature of life itself so you can be a greater blessing to the world. This is why I have no patience for teachers who glorify poverty or make people feel guilty for wanting financial freedom. They're keeping people small, keeping people stuck, keeping people unable to fulfill their potential or serve at their highest capacity. So now the question becomes practical. How do you actually do this? What are the specific steps? What's the exact practice? Because I can tell you principles all day long, I can explain psychology and spirituality and the law of mind, but if you don't know what to actually do tonight when you lie down in your bed, all of this is just interesting theory that doesn't change your life. Here's exactly what you do. And I want you to really hear this. I want you to try this tonight. Not next week. Not when you feel ready. not when circumstances improve. Tonight, as you lie in bed preparing for sleep, you're going to do something different than you've ever done before. You're going to practice the prayer of acceptance. Take 3 deep breaths. Slow, intentional, deliberate. Breathe in through your nose, hold for a moment, breathe out through your mouth. Let your body become heavy and relaxed. Let the tension of the day drain out of your muscles. Let the worry drain out of your mind. You're not trying to solve anything right now. You're not trying to figure anything out. You're not trying to make anything happen. You're simply preparing the soil of your mind to receive a new seed. As your body relaxes and your mind becomes quieter, imagine a golden doorway appearing before your mind's eye. Don't strain to see it. Don't force it. Just gently imagine it there. This doorway leads from your conscious mind to your subconscious mind. It's always there, but it only opens fully in this drowsy, peaceful state. During the day, it's guarded. Your rational mind stands, watch, saying no, that's not realistic. That's not how the world works. You can't just imagine wealth and have it appear. You need to be practical. You need to face reality. But now, right now, in this threshold state between waking and sleeping, the guard is stepping away. The door is opening. The barrier between your conscious desires and your subconscious creative power is dissolving. Don't fight to stay awake. Don't try to remain alert. Let sleepiness come. Welcome it. It's your ally. It's the signal that the gate is open, that the theta state is here, that your mind is ready to receive new programming. Now, in your mind, not out loud where your doubting thoughts can interfere, speak the prayer of acceptance. Say it slowly. Let each phrase land in your consciousness, like a stone dropping into still water, creating ripples that spread through your entire being. Thank you, infinite intelligence, for the wealth that is mine now. Feel those words. Don't just think them, feel them. Thank you. Not please give me, not I hope someday. Thank you. Present tense, already done, already mine. I accept the abundance that flows to me in expected and unexpected ways. Accept, not hope for, not wish for. Accept, like you're accepting a gift that's being handed to you right now. Expected and unexpected ways. You don't have to know how. You don't have to figure out the path. You just accept that the infinite intelligence knows infinite ways to bring good into your life. I am a channel for prosperity. Not I want to be. Not I hope to be someday. I am. Right now. Present tense. A channel. Not a container desperately trying to get and keep and hoard. A channel. Open. Flowing. Receiving and giving. Money comes to me easily. Joyfully. Easily. Not through struggle and grinding and suffering. Easily. Because that's how the law works. When you're aligned with it. Joyfully. Not through resentment or fear or desperation. Joyfully. Because abundance is the natural state of the universe, and joy is the natural response to recognizing it. My needs are met. All of them. Right now. In consciousness. They're already met. My desires are fulfilled. Not someday. Not if I'm good enough. Not if I work hard enough. They're fulfilled now in the only place that matters. In my consciousness. In my mental acceptance. In the creative medium that must externalize what I impress upon it. I am financially free. Say that slowly. I am financially free. Feel what that would feel like. Not the money itself, but the feeling of freedom, the relief, the peace, the absence of anxiety, the ability to breathe fully without that constant low-level tension about bills and expenses and whether there will be enough. Feel that freedom as if it's already yours. Because in consciousness, it is. You can adjust these words to whatever feels true and resonant for you. The specific phrases matter less than the feeling behind them. What matters is, are you accepting or asking? Are you claiming or begging? Are you thanking or pleading? Are you speaking from abundance or from lack? The feeling is what impresses. The emotional state is the prayer. Your subconscious doesn't hear your words. It feels your vibration. So as you speak these words in your mind, let yourself feel the relief in your chest. That feeling when a burden lifts. That feeling when you realize everything is actually okay. That feeling when you check your bank account and see plenty instead of not enough. Feel what it feels like to know, really know in your bones, that your bills are paid, that your account has more than enough, that you can breathe freely without that constant worry about money. Don't strain. Don't try to force the feeling. Don't beat yourself up if doubt creeps in. Just gently, like you're coaxing a shy animal, invite the feeling of relief, of gratitude, of acceptance. Let it be easy. Let it be soft. This isn't work. This is reception. You're not creating anything. You're accepting what already exists in the infinite storehouse of possibility. Now, still in that drowsy state, still relaxed and peaceful and open, visualize the evidence. See your bank account with the numbers you desire. Don't strain to make it super vivid and detailed. That's not necessary. Just casually, like you're checking your balance on your phone, see the abundance. Maybe it's 10,000. Maybe it's 50,000. Maybe it's 100,000. Maybe it's 1,000,000. Whatever number feels like freedom to you, like relief, like enough, see it there. See yourself looking at that number and feel the smile on your face. Feel the warmth in your chest. Hear yourself saying, "Thank God. There it is. Everything's okay. I'm okay. We're going to be fine. More than fine. We're abundant." Imagine the specific bills you're worried about. See them marked paid. See the confirmation. Feel the relief of knowing that's handled, that's done, that's no longer hanging over your head. Imagine going to the grocery store and buying what you actually want, not just what you can afford. Feel what it's like to put something in your cart without checking the price first. Imagine paying for it, without that little spike of anxiety about whether you're spending too much. Imagine getting the receipt and feeling peaceful about the amount because you know there's plenty more where that came from. Imagine a friend or family member in need. See yourself being able to help them. Feel the joy of saying yes, absolutely, here's what you need. Feel the freedom of being able to bless someone else because you're blessed. Feel yourself giving to a cause you care about, a charity that matters to you, giving generously because you can, because you have overflow, because you're a channel, not a container. See yourself living freely, making choices based on what you want, not just what you can afford. Saying yes to opportunities without that immediate calculation of cost. Planning a trip without anxiety about the expense. Buying something nice for yourself without guilt. Whatever freedom looks like to you, whatever relief looks like, whatever abundance looks like in your specific life, see it. Experience it in imagination. Make it sensory. What do you hear? Maybe it's the sound of your own relieved laughter. Maybe it's the voice of your bank representative confirming a large balance. Maybe it's your partner saying, "Wow, we're really doing well." What do you feel in your body? The relaxation in your shoulders? The openness in your chest? The smile on your face? The spring in your step? What do you see? The numbers? The confirmations? The evidence of abundance all around you? Your subconscious mind speaks in images and feelings and sensations, not abstract concepts. It doesn't understand "I want to be wealthy." It understands the feeling of wealth, the image of wealth, the sensory experience of wealth. So give it a movie to work with. Give it a blueprint to externalize. Don't just think about being wealthy. Experience being wealthy in imagination, with as much sensory detail and emotional reality as you can comfortably generate. This isn't fantasy. This is not you escaping reality or pretending or lying to yourself. This is impressing the blueprint. This is programming the subconscious. This is using the law of mind the way it's designed to be used. Your subconscious doesn't know this isn't happening right now. It can't tell the difference between a vividly imagined event and a physically experienced event. It experiences your imagination as reality, and it begins, immediately, to align your behaviors, your perceptions, your nervous system, your very sense of what's possible, to match this new reality. You'll start noticing opportunities you would have missed before because your consciousness was tuned to lack instead of abundance. You'll make different decisions. Better decisions. Decisions from confidence instead of fear. You'll carry yourself differently. People will respond to you differently. Opportunities will appear that match your new consciousness. Not because the universe is magically rearranging itself, but because you're finally perceiving and acting from abundance instead of lack. As you drift off to sleep, as consciousness fades and sleep claims you, let the last whisper in your mind be this: it is done. Thank you. It is done. Not it will be done someday. Not I hope it gets done. It is done. In consciousness it's complete. In the only realm that matters, the realm where all physical things are created first, it's finished. The rest is just time catching up to consciousness. The physical manifestation is inevitable once the mental equivalent is established. No more effort, no more trying, no more straining to make it happen. Fall asleep in the feeling of wealth accepted, not wealth chased. Fall asleep in the consciousness of abundance, not the consciousness of lack. Fall asleep grateful for what's already yours in mind, trusting completely that the creative power of your subconscious is now working on your behalf. All through the night, while your conscious mind is offline, while you're dreaming or in deep sleep, your subconscious is working. It never rests. It's reorganizing neural pathways. It's creating new associations. It's dissolving old patterns and establishing new ones. It's restructuring your sense of identity from someone who struggles with money to someone who's financially free. It's changing your beliefs about what's possible for you. It's preparing your nervous system to handle and maintain wealth, instead of sabotaging it. This is not metaphorical. This is literal neuroscience. Your brain is physically changing in response to the pattern you impressed before sleep. New connections are forming. Old connections are weakening. Your entire nervous system is being rewired to support the new reality you accepted in consciousness. By morning you'll be slightly different than you were. And tomorrow night, you'll impress the same pattern again, and the next night, and the next. Each night building on the previous night. Each impression deepening the groove. Each practice strengthening the new blueprint. Within days, you'll notice subtle changes in how you think about money. Within weeks, you'll notice changes in how you feel about money. Within months, you'll notice changes in your actual financial circumstances. Not because you worked harder, though inspired action will come naturally from this new consciousness. Not because you got lucky, though you'll appear lucky to people who don't understand the law, but because you changed the cause, and the effect had no choice but to change with it. If you wake in the middle of the night, which you might, and anxiety about money creeps in, which it might, don't fight it. Don't judge yourself for it. Don't think you've failed or done it wrong. The old pattern is strong. It's been with you for years, maybe decades. It doesn't disappear instantly. That's okay. You're in process. You're in transition. You're moving from one consciousness to another. Just gently, with kindness toward yourself, return to gratitude. Thank you for my abundance. Thank you that everything I need is already provided. Thank you that I am financially free. Don't force it. Don't strain. Just gently redirect your mind from fear back to acceptance. From lack back to abundance. From worry back to trust. Then let yourself fall back asleep in that consciousness. You're retraining a lifetime of poverty thinking. You're reprogramming decades of conditioning. You're redrawing a blueprint that's been etched deep into your subconscious through years of repetition. Be patient with yourself. Be kind to yourself. Be gentle with yourself. Every time you return to acceptance instead of fear, you're strengthening the new pattern. Every time you choose gratitude over worry, you're deepening the new groove. Every time you fall asleep in abundance consciousness instead of lack consciousness, you're building the foundation of a new financial reality. During the day, when money fears arise, and they will, pause. Just pause. Take a breath. You don't have to believe the fear. You don't have to obey the fear. You don't have to let the fear dictate your emotional state or your decisions. Pause and ask yourself, what would the wealthy version of me think right now? How would someone who knows they're financially free respond to this situation? What would someone with abundance consciousness do here? Then adjust your internal dialogue to match that self-concept. If the fear says, You can't afford this, and the wealthy version of you would easily afford it. You don't necessarily have to buy it, but you can think, I choose not to purchase this right now, instead of, I can't afford this. You hear the difference? One is choice from power, one is lack from limitation. Same action, completely different consciousness. If a bill comes and fear says, how are you going to pay this? The wealthy version of you thinks, this is handled, the money is coming, I trust the process. If an opportunity appears and fear says, you can't invest in yourself, you don't have the money, the wealthy version of you thinks, if this is the right opportunity, the money will come. Let me explore this with openness instead of immediately shutting it down from lack. This is not pretending. This is rehearsing. And rehearsal becomes reality through repetition. Athletes mentally rehearse their performance thousands of times before the actual game. Actors rehearse their lines until they become automatic. Musicians practice scales until they can play without thinking. You're rehearsing wealth consciousness. You're practicing abundance thinking. You're training yourself to operate from a completely different paradigm. And here's a powerful practice. Act from abundance even in small ways. Give the bigger tip. Not recklessly. Not more than you actually have. But if you're debating between $3 and $5, give $5. Buy the better coffee. Not the most expensive thing on the menu. But if you're choosing between the cheap option you don't really want and something slightly more expensive that would bring you joy, choose joy. Donate $5 to something that matters. Give to a cause you care about. Help someone in need. Not to the point of hurting yourself financially, not irresponsibly, but from overflow, even if it's small overflow. Because these acts reinforce the new blueprint. They tell your subconscious, we have more than enough, we can be generous, we are wealthy. And your subconscious believes what you do more than what you say. Every small act of abundance consciousness strengthens the pattern. Every choice made from generosity, instead of fear, deepens the groove. Every decision made from trust, instead of worry, builds the foundation. You're not waiting to be wealthy before you act wealthy. You're acting from wealth consciousness now, in whatever ways are available to you now. And that consciousness creates the wealth. This is the part most people get backwards. They think, I'll be generous when I'm rich. I'll give when I have more. I'll stop worrying when there's more in the account. But it doesn't work that way. The consciousness comes first. Always. The consciousness is the cause. The bank account is the effect. You don't wait for the effect to change before you change the cause. You change the cause, and the effect must follow. So you practice wealth consciousness now, with what you have now, in whatever small ways are available now. And as that consciousness deepens and strengthens, and becomes your new normal, your new default, your new baseline way of being, the external circumstances must shift to match, because outer is always a reflection of inner. Always. That is law. That is principle. That is how reality works. Now I want to address something that might be coming up for you. You might be thinking, this all sounds good in theory, but I have real bills. Real debt. Real financial pressure. I can't just imagine it away. I can't just think positive while I'm getting eviction notices and collection calls. This feels like spiritual bypassing. This feels like ignoring reality. And I understand that resistance. I've heard it 1,000 times. But here's what you're missing. I'm not telling you to ignore your bills or your debt or your current circumstances. I'm not telling you to be irresponsible or to bury your head in the sand. I'm telling you that the way you think about those circumstances is either making them better or making them worse. The consciousness you bring to your financial challenges is either opening doors or closing them. When you approach your bills from fear, from anxiety, from the consciousness of not enough, you make terrible decisions. You miss opportunities. You attract more lack. You operate from scarcity, and scarcity breeds more scarcity. But when you approach the exact same bills from trust, from the consciousness of abundance, from the faith that the money is coming and everything will be handled, you make better decisions. You notice opportunities. You attract solutions. You operate from abundance, and abundance breeds more abundance. Same circumstances. Different consciousness. Completely different outcomes. I've seen this over and over again in my practice. Two people with the same amount of debt. One approaches it from fear and spirals deeper into struggle. One approaches it from faith and finds their way out faster than seems possible. The difference isn't in the circumstances. It's in the consciousness. So no, you can't ignore reality, but you can change your relationship with reality. You can stop giving your fear power and start giving your faith power. You can stop rehearsing disaster and start rehearsing solutions. You can stop impressing lack upon your subconscious every time you think about money and start impressing abundance. And here's what's going to happen. As you practice this, as you do the nightly prayer of acceptance, as you fall asleep in wealth consciousness, as you make small choices from abundance during the day, you're going to start noticing things. Small things at first. Someone's going to buy you coffee unexpectedly. A forgotten rebate check is going to arrive. A friend is going to pay back money you'd written off. Small evidences of increase. Don't dismiss these as coincidence. Don't overlook them as insignificant. Acknowledge them. Thank God for them. Let them strengthen your faith. Because they're not coincidence. They're the first signs that your consciousness is shifting. They're the first evidences that the law is working. They're the universe's way of saying, yes, you're on the right track, keep going, there's more where this came from. As you acknowledge and appreciate these small increases, bigger ones come. That's how the law works. Gratitude for what you have attracts more to be grateful for. Appreciation of small good attracts larger good. Recognition of evidence strengthens the pattern that creates more evidence. This is why gratitude is so powerful. It's not just a nice spiritual practice. It's a practical tool for impressing abundance consciousness on your subconscious mind. Every night before sleep. Thank you for the wealth that's mine. I accept abundance. I am financially free. Every small evidence during the day. Thank you. I see you. I appreciate you. I recognize you as proof that my consciousness is shifting. Every decision from abundance instead of lack. I am wealth consciousness in action. I am living from the end. I am being the person who has what I desire in consciousness. This is the practice. This is the prayer. This is the secret of subconscious wealth. Not a secret because it's been hidden, but a secret because it's been overlooked. Not a secret because someone's keeping it from you, but a secret because it's so simple most people dismiss it as too easy to be true. But simple doesn't mean easy. This takes practice. This takes consistency. This takes faith in the face of contradicting circumstances. This takes commitment to the new pattern, even when the old pattern is screaming at you that this isn't working, that you're being foolish, that you need to face reality and stop this positive thinking nonsense. That voice will come. The doubt will come. The fear will come. The temptation to go back to the old way of thinking will come. And when it does, and it will, you simply return to the practice. Thank you for my abundance. I accept wealth. I am financially free. It is done. You don't argue with the doubt. You don't fight the fear. You just gently, consistently return to the new pattern. Like training a puppy. The puppy wanders off. You gently bring it back. It wanders again. You bring it back again. You don't beat the puppy. You don't shame yourself. You just patiently, kindly, consistently redirect. Your mind will wander to lack. You'll redirect to abundance. It'll wander to fear. You'll redirect to faith. It'll wander to worry. You'll redirect to trust. Over and over and over. Night after night after night. Day after day after day. Choice after choice after choice. Until one day you realize the wandering has decreased. The doubt is quieter. The fear is less frequent. The new pattern is becoming automatic. The abundance consciousness is becoming your new normal. And the circumstances are reflecting that shift. You can't fail at this unless you quit. You can't do it wrong unless you don't do it at all. The only way this doesn't work is if you try it for a few nights, and then give up when you don't see immediate results and go back to the old pattern of fear and lack and struggle. But if you persist, if you're consistent, if you practice this, night after night, impressing abundance consciousness on your subconscious mind in that receptive state before sleep. The law must work. It has no choice. It's law. Gravity doesn't sometimes work, and sometimes not. It works. Always. Without exception. The law of mind is the same. Impress a pattern with feeling and conviction, especially in the theta state before sleep, and your subconscious must externalize it. Must. Not might. Not maybe. Must. That's what makes it law. That's what makes it reliable. That's what makes it worth practicing even when you don't see immediate evidence. The seed you plant doesn't sprout immediately. But if you plant it in good soil and water it consistently and give it time, it must grow. That's the nature of seeds. That's the law of growth. Your nightly prayer of acceptance is the seed. Your subconscious mind is the soil. Your consistency is the watering. And time is just time. The harvest is inevitable if you don't dig up the seed to check if it's growing. So many people do this. They practice for a week and then check frantically. Is it working? Where's my money? Why hasn't anything changed? And that frantic checking, that desperate measuring, that anxious evaluation is just lack consciousness. It's the old pattern, reasserting itself. It's fear disguised as checking progress. And it undermines the new pattern you're trying to establish. Plant the seed and trust. Water the seed and trust. Give it time and trust. Don't keep digging it up to see if it's growing. Don't keep measuring and evaluating and judging from fear. Just practice. Just accept. Just fall asleep in abundance consciousness and trust that the law is working below the surface, even before you see evidence above the surface. The farmer doesn't stand in his field yelling at the seeds to grow faster. He doesn't dig them up every day to check on their progress. He plants them, waters them, trusts the law of growth, and patiently waits for the harvest. He knows it's coming. He doesn't need to see it today to believe it's happening. He trusts the process. You need to trust the process. Your wealth exists right now in consciousness. In the only realm where anything ever exists first. The physical manifestation is coming. It's on its way. It's moving through whatever channels it needs to move through to reach you. Your job isn't to figure out how or when or from where. Your job is to maintain the consciousness, to hold the pattern, to keep impressing abundance on your subconscious through the nightly prayer of acceptance. Let me tell you about another person I worked with. A man who came to me deeply in debt. Credit cards maxed out. Behind on his mortgage. Collection agencies calling daily. His wife was losing faith in him. His kids were asking why they couldn't do things other families could do. He was drowning in shame and fear, and felt like a complete failure as a man, as a husband, as a father, as a provider. He had tried everything. He was working 2 jobs. He'd cut every expense he could cut. He'd tried budgeting, and Dave Ramsey's program, and every practical financial strategy out there, and he was still sinking. The debt was growing faster than he could pay it down. The interest was crushing him. He couldn't see a way out. He came to me as a last resort, desperate and skeptical. I taught him the prayer of acceptance. He looked at me like I was insane. You want me to pretend I'm wealthy when I'm drowning in debt? You want me to thank God for abundance when collection agencies are calling me every day? This is delusional. This is irresponsible. This is exactly the kind of thinking that got me into this mess. I said, how's your current thinking working for you? How's the fear and anxiety and shame working? How's the consciousness of lack serving you? Is it getting you out of debt? Is it opening doors? Is it creating solutions? Or is it just making you more miserable while you stay stuck in the same pattern? He was quiet, because he knew the answer. The fear wasn't helping. The anxiety wasn't solving anything. The shame was paralyzing him. He was in a consciousness of lack and it was creating more lack. So what did he have to lose by trying something different? He started the practice. Every night before sleep. Thank you for the financial freedom. That's mine. I accept the abundance that's coming to me in expected and unexpected ways. I am debt-free. I am prosperous. I am a good provider. My family is taken care of. It is done. He said it felt ridiculous at first. Like he was lying. Like he was in denial. But he kept practicing because he was desperate enough to try anything. Within 2 weeks, his boss called him into the office. He thought he was being fired. Instead, he was being promoted. A position had opened up that he didn't even know existed. The salary increase was significant. Not enough to solve everything immediately, but enough to breathe. Enough to make the minimum payments without juggling. Enough to stop the bleeding. He told me later that in the meeting, he almost turned it down. His old pattern of unworthiness almost made him say, "I don't think I'm qualified for that." But something was different. The nightly practice had shifted something in him. He accepted the promotion with confidence, with gratitude, with the consciousness of someone who deserves good. Within a month, his wife got a job offer she hadn't applied for. A former colleague reached out, completely unsolicited. Again, not a fortune, but enough to significantly increase their household income. Within 3 months, they received a tax refund they hadn't expected because of an error in their favor from years back. Within 6 months, a relative passed away and left him a modest inheritance. Not a huge amount, but enough to pay off 2 of the credit cards completely. Within a year, they were completely debt-free. Every single debt paid. Mortgage current. Credit cards paid off and closed. Collection calls stopped. Financial peace, for the first time in his adult life. And he told me the most remarkable thing. It didn't feel like he worked any harder. It felt like doors just kept opening. Like opportunities just kept appearing. Like the universe was conspiring to help him in ways he couldn't have planned or predicted. That's what happens when you change your consciousness. That's what happens when you practice the prayer of acceptance. That's what happens when you impress abundance on your subconscious and let the law work. You don't have to know how it's going to happen. You don't have to figure out the path. You just maintain the consciousness and the path appears. Now, will it look exactly like that for you? Maybe. Maybe not. Everyone's path is unique. Everyone's demonstrations are different. But the principle is the same. The law is the same. Change your consciousness from lack to abundance through the nightly prayer of acceptance, and your circumstances must change to match. Must. Because that's law. I want to bring this home now. I want to give you something to take with you. Something to hold on to when the doubt comes, when the fear creeps in, when the old pattern tries to reassert itself, when the circumstances look like they're contradicting everything I've told you. You are not broken. Read that again. You are not broken. You're not cursed. You're not unlucky. You're not bad with money. You're not destined for struggle. You're not being punished. You're not less than. You're not forgotten by God. You are not broken. You have simply forgotten who you are. You are an individualized expression of the one infinite creative intelligence that created galaxies and orchestrates the seasons and beats your heart without your conscious effort. You are consciousness. You are creative power. You are the presence of God in human form. And poverty is not your nature. Abundance is your nature. Prosperity is your birthright. Financial freedom is your inheritance. You didn't come into this world to struggle and suffer and barely survive. You came into this world to express the infinite in form, and part of that expression is abundance in all areas of life, including finances. Somewhere along the way, you accepted a different belief. You took on a different identity. You absorbed poverty consciousness from your family, your culture, your religion, your experiences, and you've been faithfully creating from that consciousness, and your subconscious has been faithfully externalizing it, and you've been living in the harvest of seeds you didn't even know you were planting. But tonight, that changes. Tonight you plant a new seed. Tonight you accept a new identity. Tonight you remember who you really are. Not someone who struggles with money. Not someone who can't get ahead. Not someone destined for lack. But someone who is one with infinite abundance. Someone through whom prosperity flows easily and joyfully. Someone who is financially free. This is your mantra? This is what I want you to carry with you. This is what I want you to return to again and again and again until it becomes more real to you than the contradicting circumstances, more true to you than the doubt, more powerful than the fear. I am not broken. I am not cursed. I have not been forgotten by the abundance of life. I simply forgot who I am. I am a channel for infinite prosperity. I am an individualized expression of the one creative intelligence that holds nothing back, that knows no lack, that is pure abundance expressing in infinite forms. And tonight I remember. Tonight I accept. Tonight I sleep in the consciousness of wealth, and I wake to the evidence of it. This isn't arrogance. This isn't ego. This is truth. This is alignment with reality. The real reality, not the temporary appearance. The cause, not the effect. The substance, not the shadow. You are consciousness before you are circumstances. You are creative power before you are bank account. And when you remember that, when you align with that, when you live from that, the circumstances must change. Everything you see in the physical world, every single thing, existed first in consciousness. Someone's consciousness. Your house existed first in an architect's mind. Your clothes existed first in a designer's mind. Your car existed first in an engineer's mind. Every created thing started as consciousness and then became form. Money is no different. Wealth is no different. Your prosperity exists right now in the infinite mind. It's there. Waiting. Ready. Available. The only question is, are you accepting it in your consciousness? Are you impressing it on your subconscious? Are you falling asleep in the consciousness of wealth or the consciousness of lack? Tonight, you choose wealth. You choose abundance. You choose freedom, not by working harder, not by figuring out how, not by straining and stressing and forcing, but by accepting, by thanking, by sleeping in the consciousness of already having, by letting the infinite intelligence, working through your faithful subconscious mind, create the how. Your job is to maintain the consciousness. The universe's job is to manifest the form. Your job is to accept in mind. The law's job is to produce in matter. Your job is to plant the seed. Nature's job is to grow the harvest. Don't try to do both jobs. Don't try to be consciousness and law. Just be consciousness. Accept, feel, believe, and let the law do what law does. It is done. Right now, in this moment, in the only realm that matters, it is done. You are wealthy in consciousness. The subconscious is already working to externalize that consciousness. The wheels are already turning. The doors are already opening. The opportunities are already being arranged. The money is already on its way. You don't see it yet, but it's coming. As surely as day follows night, as surely as harvest follows planting, as surely as effect follows cause, it's coming. Trust that. Rest in that. Sleep in that. Wake in that. Live from that. And watch your world transform to match the new you, the real you, the abundant you that you've always been underneath the false programming of lack. So, here's what I want you to do right now. If this message resonated with you, if you felt something shift even slightly in how you think about money and prayer and your own worthiness of abundance, I want you to leave a comment below. Tell me, what's the first thing you're going to thank infinite intelligence for tonight before you sleep? Not what you want. Not what you're hoping for. What you're accepting is already yours, in consciousness. I want to see your commitment. I want to witness your declaration. I want to see you speaking wealth into existence, even if it's just one sentence in a comment section, because that act, that public declaration, that commitment to the practice, it strengthens the pattern, it deepens the groove. It tells your subconscious, we're serious about this. We're doing this. This is our new way of being. Write it in present tense. Write it with feeling. Don't write I hope to be debt-free. Write I am debt-free, thank you. Don't write I want more money. Write thank you for the abundance that flows to me easily and joyfully. Don't write maybe this will work. Write it is done, I accept it, I am grateful. And if you're ready to go deeper, if you're ready to understand how this law of consciousness applies to every area of your life, not just finances, If you're ready to learn how to use your mind correctly for health and relationships and purpose and joy, hit that subscribe button right now. I share this wisdom weekly, deep teachings on the subconscious mind, on prayer, on the laws that govern human experience. And I promise you, we're just getting started. There are depths to this teaching that will astound you, that will unlock doors you didn't even know existed. Like this video if it served you. And I mean really, take the 2 seconds and click that thumbs up. Not for me, not to feed some algorithm, but for you, because that small act is you agreeing with abundance. That small gesture is you saying yes to truth. That simple click is you telling the universe, I receive this teaching, I accept this wisdom, I am open to transformation. And every yes builds momentum. Every agreement with truth strengthens the pattern. Every act of acceptance, no matter how small, deepens the consciousness that creates the life you desire. Now, I want to address one more thing before we close. Some of you are listening to this and thinking, Joseph, this sounds beautiful, this sounds hopeful, but I've been disappointed before, I've tried things before, I've believed before, and been let down, I've gotten my hopes up and had them crushed. How do I know this is different? How do I know this won't be another false promise, another empty teaching that sounds good but doesn't actually work in my real life? And I understand that resistance. I honor that skepticism. You've been hurt. You've been disappointed. You've tried to change your financial situation and felt like you failed, or worse, felt like you succeeded temporarily only to slide back into the old pattern. And that kind of repeated disappointment creates a protective shell. A cynicism, a refusal to hope, because hoping hurts too much when it doesn't work out. But here's what I want you to understand. This isn't about hoping. This isn't about wishing or wanting or positive thinking or any of the surface level stuff that you've tried before. This is about law. Psychological law. The law of mind. The law of subconscious creation. And law is reliable. Law is predictable. Law doesn't sometimes work, and sometimes not. It works. Always. You're not being asked to believe in some magical thinking that may or may not produce results. You're being asked to understand how your mind actually works and use it correctly. Your subconscious mind has been creating your reality all along. Every day. Without exception. The question has never been whether it works. The question has always been, what are you impressing upon it? Up until now, you've been unconsciously impressing poverty, lack, struggle. Not because you wanted to, not because you chose to, but because that's what you learned. That's what you absorbed. That's what became your default programming, and your faithful subconscious has been externalizing that programming with perfect accuracy. Now you're learning to consciously impress abundance, prosperity, freedom. You're learning to reprogram the subconscious deliberately, instead of accidentally. You're learning to plant seeds on purpose, instead of unconsciously scattering whatever seeds were handed to you by family and culture and painful experiences. The law hasn't changed. Your subconscious is still creating your reality, still externalizing your dominant impressions, still faithful to your consciousness. The only thing that's changing is what you're impressing. And when you change the impression, the law must create different results. Must. Because that's what law does. It operates consistently, predictably, reliably, so you're not being asked to hope this works. You're being asked to understand that this works, has always worked, is working right now, and will continue to work because it's law. The only question is, are you going to use the law consciously or unconsciously, deliberately or accidentally, for abundance or for lack? And yes, it takes practice. Yes, it takes consistency. Yes, it takes faith in the face of contradicting circumstances, while the old pattern is still manifesting, and the new pattern is still forming below the surface. But it's not hoping that maybe possibly, if you're lucky, this might work. It's knowing that if you plant seeds in good soil, and water them consistently, a harvest must come. That's not hope. That's confidence in natural law. Every person I've worked with who actually practiced this, who fell asleep in abundance consciousness night after night, who maintained the practice even when doubt came and circumstances seemed to contradict it, every single one of them experienced a shift in their financial reality. Everyone. Without exception. Because the law works. For everyone. Impartially. Consistently. Reliably. The only people who don't experience results are the people who don't actually practice. The people who try it once or twice and give up. The people who practice inconsistently. The people who say the words but don't generate the feeling. The people who accept abundance at night but spend all day reinforcing lack. The people who plant seeds and then dig them up every day to check if they're growing. But if you actually practice this the way I've described, if you fall asleep every night in the consciousness of wealth accepted, if you maintain that consciousness as best you can during the day, if you make small choices from abundance instead of lack, if you trust the process and give it time to work, you will see results. Not because I'm promising you something magical, but because you'll be using a law correctly, and law produces consistent results. So don't hope. No. Don't wish. Accept. Don't try. Practice. And watch what happens when you align your consciousness with the abundant nature of reality itself instead of fighting against it with poverty consciousness. Now, let me give you one final image to hold in your mind. I want you to imagine for a moment that you're standing in front of a massive warehouse. This warehouse is infinite. It stretches as far as you can see in every direction. And inside this warehouse is everything that could possibly exist. Every form of good, every blessing, every resource, every opportunity, infinite supply of everything you could ever need or want. Health is in there, love is in there, purpose is in there, joy is in there, and yes, wealth is in there, financial freedom is in there, abundance is in there, not as something you have to earn, or deserve, or beg for, not as something rationed out to the worthy few, but as infinite supply available to everyone, because it's the nature of the infinite to be abundant. Now, there's a door to this warehouse, and the door has a sign on it. The sign says, entrance through consciousness only. You can't get in with your effort. You can't break down the door with your willpower. You can't earn your way in with your good behavior. You can't beg someone to let you in. The only way through that door is consciousness. When you accept abundance, in consciousness. When you sleep in the feeling of wealth. When you maintain the consciousness of prosperity, that door opens. And the infinite supply that's been there, all along, waiting, ready, available, begins to flow into your life. Not because you created it, not because you manifested it out of thin air, but because you finally accepted it. You finally opened yourself to receive what was always there. Most people stand outside that warehouse their entire lives, looking at the door, wanting what's inside, hoping someone will give it to them, trying to force the door open, feeling angry or resentful or confused about why others seem to have access and they don't, never realizing that the door opens from the inside through consciousness, never understanding that acceptance is the key. You have the key now. You've always had the key. It's your consciousness. It's your mental acceptance. It's your ability to sleep in the feeling of already having what the infinite warehouse contains. And tonight, for the first time, or maybe for the 100th time but with new understanding, you're going to use that key. You're going to open that door. You're going to accept the wealth that's been waiting for you all along. Not someday. Not when you're worthy enough. Not when circumstances improve. Tonight. In consciousness. In the only realm where anything ever exists first. You're going to accept it, feel it, know it, thank God for it, and then you're going to sleep in that acceptance, letting your subconscious impress that pattern so deeply that the external world has no choice but to reorganize itself to match. This is your moment. This is your turning point. This is the night everything changes because the consciousness that creates everything is changing. Years from now, you might look back at tonight as the night you finally understood, the night you finally accepted. The night you stopped being a victim of circumstances and became a deliberate creator through consciousness. Or you might forget this teaching by tomorrow. You might let the doubt win. You might go back to the old pattern of fear and lack and struggle. You might try it once, not see immediate results, and dismiss it as more positive thinking nonsense that doesn't work in the real world. That's a choice you have. Free will. You can choose poverty consciousness or abundance consciousness. You can choose fear or faith. You can choose to use the law or ignore the law. But the law is still operating either way. Your subconscious is still creating your reality either way. The only question is, what are you impressing upon it? What are you accepting as true? What consciousness are you falling asleep in tonight? I hope you choose abundance. I hope you choose freedom. I hope you choose to finally accept the wealth that's been yours all along in the infinite warehouse of consciousness. I hope you practice this tonight and tomorrow night, and the next night and the next until the new pattern becomes automatic, until abundance consciousness becomes your new normal, until financial freedom is just who you are, instead of something you're chasing. But more than hope, I know that if you do choose this, if you do practice this, if you do maintain this consciousness, the law will work. Must work, because law is law, and you'll look back at this moment as the moment everything shifted. Not because of what I said, but because of what you accepted, because of the consciousness you chose, because of the seed you planted in the fertile soil of your subconscious mind. Turn off this video now. Close your eyes, lie down, get comfortable, let your body relax, let your mind quiet. Enter that sacred threshold state between waking and sleeping, and speak the prayer of acceptance. Thank you for the wealth that's mine. I accept abundance. I am financially free. It is done. Feel it, mean it, accept it, then sleep in that consciousness. Let it impress deeply. Let it sink past all resistance. Let it become the new pattern. And tomorrow, wake up slightly different than you were. A little more aligned with abundance. A little more conscious of prosperity. A little more free from the old pattern of lack. Do it again tomorrow night. And the next night. And the next. Build momentum, deepen the groove, strengthen the pattern, until one day, maybe soon, maybe in a few weeks or months, you wake up and realize your relationship with money has completely transformed. The anxiety is gone. The fear is gone. The sense of lack is gone. And in its place is peace, confidence, trust, and evidence. Real, tangible, physical evidence that your consciousness creates your reality. That day is coming. I promise you that. Not because I have special powers or because I'm making empty promises, but because I understand the law. And I know that if you practice this, the law must work. And when it does, when your financial life transforms, when the abundance flows, when the freedom comes, you'll know something that can never be taken from you. You'll know that you are not at the mercy of circumstances. You'll know that consciousness is cause. You'll know that you have the power, through the proper use of your mind, to create the life you desire. And that knowledge will serve you in every area of life, far beyond finances. But it starts tonight. With this practice, with this prayer, with this acceptance, with you lying down in a few minutes and falling asleep in the consciousness of wealth instead of lack. That's all it takes to begin. One night, one practice, one acceptance, and then another, and another, until the harvest comes. The wealth is already yours. You're just remembering how to receive it. You're just opening the door that's always been there. You're just accepting what the infinite has always been offering. You're just aligning with your true nature as an abundant being in an abundant universe created by an abundant God. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being open. Thank you for being willing to see money and prayer and spirituality and yourself in a completely new way. Thank you for taking this journey with me. Thank you for giving this teaching a chance to work in your life. Sleep well tonight. Sleep in abundance. Sleep in prosperity. Sleep in the consciousness of wealth accepted, and gratitude expressed, and freedom experienced. And wake tomorrow to the first day of your new financial reality, a reality that reflects the consciousness you're choosing right now. It is done. You are abundant. You are prosperous. You are financially free. Not someday, Not when you earn it. Not when you deserve it. Now. In consciousness, where all creation begins. Accept it. Feel it. Know it. Sleep in it. And watch your world transform to match the truth you've finally accepted. Good night, sleep in wealth, wake in abundance, and live the financially free life that's been waiting for you all along. It is done. Thank you. Amen.